Welcome to Bedtime FairyFails. I'm Kim. This story was made possible in part by the live play D&D podcast All D20. We'll tell you a little more about them after the show. This story was sent in by Jonah Mitchell. This is a tale about distractions, specifically very destructive distractions. It's also a tale about why Chonk the barbarian is no longer allowed to touch magic items. This is...
Another Case of Mistaken Identities.
Once upon a time, a group of heroes were headed to investigate the basement of a tavern. They suspected there was a cult hiding down there and wanted to get some proof. Our party consisted of a large hill dwarf barbarian named Chonk who loved cheese, a celestial warlock named Mozart who was previously a criminal but had been given a second chance by our party, a necromancer wizard named Ellengar who was slowly but surely raising a secret undead army, a fighter named Seth who was a simple farmer just looking for some adventure, and finally, a monk named Ryan, who was the calmest one of the group. Now, investigating the basement wouldn't be as easy as just walking in and asking. I mean, would you let some strangers into your secret cultist hideout? Probably not. So while Ryan and Ellengar went off to obtain a search warrant and do things the legal way, the other three heroes decided to create a diversion so one of them could sneak down and have a look. When they get to the tavern, Mozart the Warlock tells Chonk the Barbarian that he should start a bar fight as a distraction so that he and Seth could sneak down to the basement and search for proof. Chonk seems more than eager to oblige and heads on into the bar. He immediately walks right up to some random, innocent bystander who was just trying to enjoy his drink and knocks it right out of his hand. As this was happening, the other two sneak right past the distracted bartender and down into the basement. After knocking the drink out of the poor guy's hand, Chonk pulls a gem out of his pocket. And not just any gem. A gem that contains an earth elemental, which he immediately summons. Now, an earth elemental is essentially a giant walking rock man who is perfectly capable of distracting a tavern just by existing. But Chonk wanted to take it a step further, so he pulls out a growth potion and just goes ahead and dumps it all over the already large elemental. It instantly grows a full size into a giant earth elemental. Chonk names him Steve.
Steve, I'd like you to create a huge distraction,
says Chonk. Steve nods, turns, and stomps across the bar, flipping tables as he goes. What follows is remembered to this day as the day the tavern was destroyed. Steve the Earth Elemental toppled chairs, he punched customers, he smashed the bar into splinters. This was far more than just a distraction. This was a travesty. Property destroyed, lives lost or ruined, an incident that the bartender would never financially recover from. Since this was a more advanced town than most, it doesn't take long for the townspeople to start coming out with guns. They shoot at the elemental and finally create some bombs to throw at him until poor giant Steve meets his end. And this is about the time Seth and Mozart emerge from the basement unseen. Having heard the commotion, Ellengar and Ryan come running to investigate. They arrive just in time to see the mayhem and madness of an entire village coming together to defeat Steve. A look of anger, confusion, and astonishment washes over both of their faces as they watch the travesty unfold in front of them. Once everything settles down and the heroes are a safe distance away, Seth and Mozart report that they did not actually find any evidence of occults at all. So basically, Steve destroyed an entire tavern and then died as a distraction to investigate a cult hideout that never even existed.
You idiot!
Says Ryan to Chonk.
You destroyed Wendy's! For nothing! You could have just waited for the search warrant, or maybe just, I don't know, not summon an earth elemental?
Chonk gives a sly grin and says,
Yeah, but the looks on your faces made it all worth it.
In the end, Chonk was banned from ever touching any magical items ever again. The end. This story comes from Wrangle Humming. This is a story about the value of honesty and also the value of wood to a woodchuck. This is
Lethe-al Tongue Twister.
Once upon a time, there was a group of heroes that were trying to stop a group of bandits. And they had decided the best course of action would be to capture a few to interrogate. Solid plan, I'd say. Our expert planners were a human paladin named Wrangle Humming, a changeling ranger named Lethe, a human cleric, a halfling wizard, and a halfling rogue. Now, like I said, our heroes have gone out to find some bandits to interrogate, and as luck would have it, they soon came across a bandit camp. They could see 4 bandits huddled around a fire and one standing off to the side keeping watch. The party quickly devises a plan. They'll fire at the guard first, then be ready when the rest attack. So the rogue prepares a sneak attack, takes aim with his crossbow, and bullseye. The arrow hits right between his eyes and kills him instantly. The party takes up arms and goes to battle. The bandits were worthy foes, but the heroes were worthier. Which unfortunately led to the party quickly killing all but one, who they just barely kept alive. But that's good enough. We'll still call it a win. Time for some interrogating. Lethe says to the bandit,
Tell us who your leader is.
The bandit sneers in return and says,
Oh, it's a big fluffy bunny. You could find him right up your butt and to the left.
Clearly, the party is going to have to get creative here to make him talk. They try intimidating him.
Do you want to die? I'll rip your arms off.
Oh yeah? Do it then.
They tried persuading him.
You could save hundreds of people. Don't you realize the damage you're doing here?
Yeah, I'm full of compassion. That's why I'm a criminal, moron.
Nothing was working.
I'll never talk. You can try your worst, but you'd need some sort of zone of truth to get anything out of me.
That's when Wrangle the Paladin remembered he had a Zone of Truth spell.
Hey guys, I just remembered I have a Zone of Truth spell.
As the rest of the party facepalms, Wrangle casts his spell. Now to see if it worked. Lethe asks,
What's your name?
The bandit immediately replies,
Derek?
Derek's eyes get wide as he realizes he had just told them his actual name. Zone of Truth was officially working. Time to get some answers. The party takes turns interrogating Derek and eventually get all the information they need. The name of the leader, location, schedule, even his birthday. It was officially mission accomplished. But since the Zone of Truth was still active, they decide to have a little fun with him first and ask a few ridiculous questions. The rogue starts them off with,
Hey, what color is your underwear?
Gray.
answers the now defeated-looking bandit. Next, Wrangle asks,
How often do you pick your nose?
That's gross.
replies the bandit.
Answer me!
A couple times a day.
Ew, that's gross, man.
Then Lethe steps forward. He has a smirk on his face that tells everyone he's thought of a really good question. He looks Derek the bandit right in the eye and asks,
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
The bandit looked frightened as he says,
Woodchucks? Wood? This doesn't make any sense. I can't answer. Oh my god. My brain. Ah!
He grabs his head in his hands for a moment, then collapses on the ground, unconscious. Ringle looks at Lethe and says,
Did you just kill him with a tongue twister?
Lethe scratches his head as he replies,
No, he's not dead. He's just unconscious. Plus, we already got all the info anyway.
The party then packs up and heads out to find the leader, leaving poor Derek on the ground to die. The end. Thanks for listening. If you like D&D podcasts, which clearly you do, be sure to check out one of our favorites, All D20. You can find them on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or anywhere else you listen. To submit a fail, visit our website at bedtimefairyfails.com or message me on Instagram or Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as Bedtime FairyFails.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Well, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Now say, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?